Today we're taking a look at the Huma Chia Energy Gel Plus. So I've been trying out a variety of different gels, trying to figure out which one works best for me. I know for a lot of you, the main reason why you might switch from one gel to another is from GI issues. Fortunately, that's not something that I necessarily have to think about, but not all gels are created equal, and there are different preferences that you're gonna have to deal with. And when you're eating 4 or 5 of them over the course of a marathon, you really wanna make sure that what you have is something you like. There's some that I really enjoy, but they're big and bulky. There's others that I really like, but it's hard to take them more than one over the course of a run. And so still tinkering, still experimenting. And today we're gonna take a look at the Huma Chia Energy Gel Plus. Now this has 2 reasons why I'm particularly interested in it. One is the chia seeds, and chia is an ingredient that I've been really curious about, as it's supposed to have some anti-inflammatory. It's supposed to have some anti-inflammatory properties, so really good for runners, people who are banging on their joints all the time. And the other thing that interests me is that this one has caffeine. Now I know some of the other ones that I've tested recently do come in variants that have caffeine in it, so no knock to any of the ones that don't have caffeine necessarily, but this has 25 milligrams of caffeine in it, which isn't a ton, but in a gel, when you're running, any caffeine that you introduce into your system, it's kind of like nitrous, if you ask me. You'll definitely feel it. And I took this with me on a half marathon length run a short while ago. It was a relatively leisurely run, 8 minutes, 59 seconds per mile over the course of that half marathon distance. But took one of these along with me with a whole bunch of water. Ate this pretty much at the turn, at the halfway point. And I'd say that in terms of flavor, it's an interesting flavor. I know I've seen some other people comment about this on Twitter and on Instagram. And so when I took this in, that was kind of the texture was the first thing that I noticed. To put it in a comparison point in terms of the thickness, it's not quite as thick as the Cliff Shots, which tend to be my overall favorite, and I've been using those for years. But it wasn't as much of a thick food puree, and it also wasn't as thick as the Canaberry that I had as well in terms of it being a food puree. Although of the different energy gels that I've had, that's probably the closest in terms of taste and texture that I can compare it to. It's a little bit thinner than the Canaberry was, but this also, like Canaberry, has all ingredients that I can pronounce. I don't think that the products are organic, but it is vegan and gluten-free. And it touts itself as having natural electrolytes. So very much in the same vein as the Spring Energy type of products, where everything is on the more natural side of things. And I've mentioned this in other videos before, where I'm basically both Rocky and Ivan Drago in Rocky 4. Sometimes I want running nutrition that's just super basic, and other times I want something that's super engineered and just the pinnacle of modern technology and science. This falls more on the blender full of raw eggs side of that spectrum, if you want to put it in those kinds of terms. In terms of the flavor, which I mentioned a little bit earlier, can be a little bit polarizing. This one is strawberry lemonade, and when I ate it, it tasted like strawberries and then lemonade. I don't know why that was. Maybe it was the cold in terms of how cold this packet got, or maybe it was the cold affecting how my ability to taste things goes. But at first, it felt very much just like the Spring Energy Canaberry flavor, except it was a little less thick. And then later on, like halfway through, it started getting very lemonade-y, very citrusy, and almost a little bit like effervescent. So it kind of reminded me of like Noon, if Noon made a energy gel. And so do they make an energy gel? I'm not sure. Overall, I thought it was pretty good. I liked it. I was able to take down the gel very easily. I had a little bit of water with me, but it's not like a Cliff Shot where you have to have water with it. Otherwise, it feels like you just ate a mouthful of peanut butter. This is very easy to take, and it was relatively easy on my stomach. But then again, I'm not the best gauge of that. If you are someone who's had this before and you have sensitive GI when it comes to gels, let me know in the comments, because everyone else who's watching is definitely going to be able to benefit from your experience as well. I will note though, however, after eating the gel, after a couple of, maybe about a mile after I started on the way back home, I did not have gastrointestinal distress. But in parts of the GI tract that are past the stomach, I did feel a little bit of, well, I was gassy. Let's just put it that way. I don't know if that happened to be just the time of day, completely coincidence, which with running longer distances, you know, that kind of stuff just happens all the time with or without gels. But just in the interest of telling you what my experience was with this particular gel on this particular day, that was something that happened. Not a problem by any means, but just letting you know how it went. One other thing that I find is interesting when we start looking at the back of the package gel in terms of looking at the numbers, before we get to that, right under where it says natural electrolytes, it's got like the chemical names for sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium, all great things, and also one for chloride. But then when you go over here to the ingredients and the electrolyte content, chloride isn't listed. So I don't know if they just wanted to have 5 circles here, or maybe some of the other flavors have chloride, but it's not one of the things that I look for when I'm looking at the ingredients on the back of an energy gel. The things that I'm looking for are the amount of sugars it has and how much sodium and potassium it has. And so to put it in comparison, this one has, let's see, to make sure I get the numbers right, 21 grams of carbs, which I think anything in like the 16, 17, and to 25 range is kind of what I'm looking for in a packet of gel. I think anything that's more than like 20, I'm not sure. There's, I think, diminishing returns in terms of more sugar in it doesn't necessarily give you more carbs that your body can use right away. The other thing that I'm looking for is salt a lot of times, because yes, I can also drink carbs along a marathon route, but salt management has always been a problem for me in longer races. So salt is something that I keep a keen eye out for. And in this product, the Huma, the salt it has is really high, which I like. 245 milligrams of salt, and it has 80 milligrams of potassium. And salt and potassium kind of go hand in hand. Your body likes to have both at the same time. I'm a little bit shaky on the exact biomechanics of that or the chemistry of that, but I know to look for both at the same time in a packet. And this is probably some of the most sodium that I've seen in an energy gel in a long time. So really happy to see that. And I definitely felt the benefit of it, plus that little kick of caffeine as I was running back. So I definitely felt not like an energy boost, but I felt good. I felt really good, even though I was on mile 8 of a snowy, wintry run. So that was a nice and pleasant thing to feel. In comparison, the Spring Energy Canaberry flavor has 60 milligrams of sodium and 40 milligrams of potassium. So like a quarter of the amount that's in the Huma. And to compare it to Cliff is similar to the Canaberry, which is 60 sodium and 55 milligrams of potassium. And Science and Sport only has 10 milligrams of sodium in it. So if you're looking for a high level of salt, the Science and Sport might, at least in the orange flavor that I just looked at for the numbers, that one doesn't have a ton of salt in it, so you're going to have to get your sodium from a handful of pretzels or something along the course route if you're using that for your marathon. So I'm pretty happy with these, and I only picked up a handful of them the last time I was at a running store. And so this is one that I think I might go and actually buy a bunch of and make a deeper dive into it. Just try it some more. I'm going to look to see if they have ones with a little bit more caffeine, because I'm addicted to caffeine, and I just like having a little bit more of it. The Cliff shots that I have, I think have 100 milligrams of caffeine, so it's like drinking a cup of coffee every time I take a gel, which I kind of like. I know that's going to probably throw off any heart rate stuff that I'm doing, but I don't really pay too much attention to heart rate when I'm racing or even on any runs that I might be bringing a gel on. So those are my thoughts on the Huma Chia Energy Gel Plus. Let me know in the comments if you've tried this particular brand of energy gel, and specifically if there's any flavors that you recommend that might have a little bit more caffeine. I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Before I go, this is the time of the video that I would normally talk about a charity runner for the day, and there will be a charity runner for the day, but we're at a weird spot here where I've had to make a whole bunch of videos ahead of time, and I've depleted my list of charity runners. So at the time that this video releases, there won't be a charity runner for the day. But what I will do is after I get back and can start replying to some of the comments and have regular internet access again, hopefully by then I'll have more charity runners. So after about 3 or 4 days from when this video hits, check back again, or depending on when you've seen it, you might already see that charity runner in the description. I'll spotlight a charity runner, tell you about the race that they're running, and what charity that they're raising money for to prepare for that race. And I'll donate at least $10 to help that person meet their fundraising goal. Sorry that I can't put it all in the same time, but it's just because I had to make so many. Anyway, if you are a charity runner or if you know a charity runner, please feel free to send that fundraising information my way, whether it's in a comment, Twitter, Instagram, or in an email. I'd love to be able to spotlight you and the race that you're running and the charity that you're running for, and give you $10 and talk about the good work that you're doing in your local community. That's all I have for today, everybody. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys tomorrow.
Yo, what's going on?